Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lost Planning the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How's it going, guys? How are we today? Hopefully you're doing well. I'm having a terrific day. Very busy day, full of all sorts of activities, but a great day nonetheless. December is, absolutely. Hold on, I'm setting up all my windows here. When I have to set up my show not in my office, then I have to go, or when I get to my office, I have to set up all the freaking windows, and I'm already late, so you got to get moving. December is such a freaking hellhole of time for me, but so many activities for the kids, so many birthdays, so many events. Sometimes you just got to take a zen moment. Take a zen moment. That is not what I've been doing, but sometimes that what you need is what you need to do. All right, guys, we've got some stuff to cover. It is Wednesday. It is What the Fuck Wednesday. We have the What the Fuck Wednesday thread up on Locals. If anybody wants to submit stories, I've only picked two major topics to cover tonight on the show. And we are starting on time, so we should have time for those. In the past, sometimes we get a little delayed because I'll like invite someone on and then they're on for like 5 hours or whatever. But not tonight. Not tonight. Tonight, it is just you and me, baby. What kind of sweater is that? It's a nice one. It's cozy as shit. It's cold here. Today was actually pretty nice. Today I got all the way up to like almost 40 for a bit. And tomorrow it's going to be like 45 degrees. And then it's going to get cold, like actually cold. And that sucks. And the snow's coming and I hate it. But yeah. So with that said, though, I did get to spend a little bit of time with Lady Rackets today, which was just a wonderful surprise. I didn't think I would. But our schedules worked out where we got to just hang out and we had a big chat to do. We just got to do it, or big task to do. We just ended up getting to do it together rather than not, which was awesome. So that was fun. And I'm actually genuinely sorry about last night. We had unexpected company that I thought was going to leave much, much earlier. I knew pretty early on that it was going to be late, but I thought they were going to leave much, much earlier. And once it was like 3:30 in the morning, I was like, okay, well, yeah, that just didn't work out. But like I said, December is a very hectic time. People are in from out of town. We've got, again, so many birthdays and Christmas preparations and kid activity. It's just nuts, but it's all good nuts, like pecans. Not like Brazil nuts, which aren't bad, but pecans are better. Does that make sense? No, Drexel wasn't here. I still haven't seen Drexel in quite a bit. He mentioned coming out sometime soon. I think he might be out for New Year's. We usually do a New Year's show together. It's a lot of fun. So he might come out for New Year's. We were talking about it a little bit, but I don't know. So I do have a couple topics. The main topics of the night. Hunter Biden is using Bruen, the Supreme Court decision in Bruen, penned by Clarence Thomas, the Second Amendment decision to challenge some of his gun charges. We talked about this before. Now it's a little more official. Is that the right move? I think so. Like, look, just because it's the wrong target does not mean the laws are any more just. They are not. So now that Hunter Biden is going to challenge these statutes, under Bruen, it gives this opportunity to question, can they restrict gun ownership to felons? Can they restrict gun ownership to people who claim to be users of illegal drugs or don't claim or whatever? Can they do that? I believe the indictment of Hunter Biden, these particular crimes that are being challenged are the idea that he was in possession of firearms and that he lied on his government form saying that he was not a user of an illegal substance when he purchased the firearms. And then, of course, the Hunter Biden laptop comes out and there's a bunch of pictures of him doing cocaine off of like Malia Obama or Sasha Obama or whoever that chick was. I don't know. But that happened. So then he's getting charged after a lot of investigation. But the question is, can they even put that restriction on there? Does it comport with Bruen? We're going to take a look at that. We'll talk through it. I think you know my opinion on it. I don't care if it's Hunter Biden. I don't care who it is personally. Any of these laws and restrictions on gun ownership seem unconstitutional to me. It just says shall not be infringed. And so putting this prerequisite for you to, first of all, seems to also be a violation of your Fifth Amendment, right? Freedom from self-incrimination, to be required for someone to say that they're a user of an illegal substance, right? Like that seems to be a Fifth Amendment violation, but it's voluntary, bro. Well, I mean, it's voluntary if you want to exercise your Second Amendment right, which doesn't quite seem like that's voluntary. It doesn't seem like you can condition the exercise of a right that shall not be infringed and a right that is given to you as a protection from government on the fact that you don't want to, like that you have to buy a gun voluntarily as part of that process. So that's my main opinion, but we're going to talk through it. We'll take a look at what's being said about it. It'll be interesting to see how news outlets are going to discuss this, since it's Hunter Biden, right? The darling of whatever, of the media. The next major topic we have, this came up on Twitter yesterday. I was going to talk about it yesterday, and I don't think my tweet got any traction on it, which isn't a surprise. I'm pretty sure I'm shadow banned into my own underwear. But it's this investigation has revealed that large pharmacy chains like CVS and some other pharmacy chains have just gone ahead and handed over to the government without a warrant their customer lists and a list of all their prescriptions and their, how often they fill them and all that stuff. I mean, does that bother you? Should it? Those are two different questions. Does it bother you? Should it bother you? Is it constitutional? Should it be constitutional? Doesn't that kind of smell like a Fourth Amendment violation? Kind of smells like one. But I got news for you. It ain't. And this is a place where a lot of people get confused about Fourth Amendment jurisprudence when it involves someone other than you. So we're going to have to talk through that one. The case history on this is long and it's pretty well settled. I don't know that it necessarily should remain well settled, but it is currently pretty well settled on this fact. And people are outraged. And every time this comes up, people are outraged and appalled that the government is able to acquire this information without people's consent. And the reasoning behind it is not good. But the reasoning behind it is always the same. It's drugs, baby. It's drugs. Nope, it's not HIPAA. It's drugs, baby. It's always drugs. All the justifications for every gross breach of Fourth Amendment is always drugs. The war on drugs has done more to erode the Fourth Amendment ever. And you know why? Because when they make a drug bust with unlawfully obtained information that violates the Fourth Amendment, what is always the result? What is always the result? The result is always 6 fat assholes standing in front of a table with a bunch of bricks of cocaine, like bags of cocaine that they separated out because the bricks stopped looking impressive. So they made them into bags to separate it out and make it smaller. And then maybe like a big pile of marijuana, some mushrooms, some nondescript pills, and like a child's toy with the stuffing ripped open that they pretend this is transported in. It's always that. And they're like, the street value of this is $790 billion. Not even Elon Musk could afford this one street dealer's stash if he tried. And these 6 donut-fueled fuckheads cracked the case. How did they do it? By masturbating on Facebook Messenger. Like, it's always something like that. And then once you get around to where you go, oh, but wait, like, that was illegal how they got that information. A judge is now faced with a problem. You go, hey, judge, there's a Fourth Amendment issue here. And they go, we have literal pictures of all the drugs. Like, they're all right there. Some agent came in and calculated how much they're worth. All of the drugs exist. We can see them. They're right on the table. They're in the newspaper on the front page. This is a highly trained task force of donuts walking around, waddling in and out of cars, inappropriately using field tests. And they don't know what to do because they know they have the dealer. Like, they know the guy did it. He's got a pile of drugs. He's probably got them in his mouth when they walk in the door. But they shouldn't have walked in the door in the first place. But they already put the picture in the paper. So what do you do? It's always drugs. Fourth Amendment is always drugs. The reason that they're coming after pharmacy lists and prescriptions, right? Opiates, fentanyl. How are they getting into the streets? Who's filling faster than their prescriptions? Who's got suspicious activity around it? Who's filling? Who seems to have frequent mild injuries that require an opiate painkiller? Blah 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 blah. These are the things they're looking for, and they're using these to build other corroborating information. It wouldn't be enough to get this information, just go after someone, be like, aha, they got a prescription for fentanyl, and then a kid died from it in the same town. Like, you can't do that. But it's corroborating information. It helps them with investigations. The problem is any of that information would, if it were a Fourth Amendment violation, preclude the use of any subsequent information garnered from it, unless it could have been reasonably garnered by another source that would not have been a Fourth Amendment violation. Do you know how that exception came to be? Like, let's do this. So there's this doctrine called the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. That's where if you have a Fourth Amendment violation, all of the fruit from that poisonous tree, the Fourth Amendment violation, cannot be used, right? That's a good, sound doctrine. They illegally obtain the evidence, but there's an exception for it. And you know how the exception came about? I'm guessing there was a table with a pile of drugs on it that was involved. I'm going to wager. And the exception to that is unless the information would have reasonably been obtained otherwise in a manner consistent with the Fourth Amendment. Oh. All right. Cool. So that's what we got to talk about with this. But I'm going to tell you why this it doesn't matter, though, because this isn't a Fourth Amendment violation. And again, the history of this is well settled. It's settled across multiple industries. And we will be just discussing kind of the basic framework. I'm not going to go into each and every case on this. I've actually, this is one of the fields of study I really liked in law school, and I wrote a decent amount about, but I'm not going to go into the full case. So I'm going to summarize it because it does get kind of boring if I just read through all of the cases. You'd probably want to 86 yourself, but maybe that's a project for a future date. That being said, we will talk about the basic outline of why it's not a Fourth Amendment violation, why this case law exists, how they have justified it, what the reasoning is, and what the questions are going forward, because this is all based on law or on technology and societal traditions that do not exist in the present day. I mean, pen registers on phones don't matter, and they're derivative concepts of pen registers. But the pharmacies have, at the time that this law was created, pharmacies were way different and way less extensive, and drug restrictions were very, very different. So, is this appropriate for the modern era? Where'd that whole medical privacy go? I saw a lot of people say HIPAA. So it's actually much less often HIPAA than you think. But and then the other issue here is where's your medical privacy and bodily autonomy? We used to hear that a lot. Remember that? Good old Roe versus Wade. The right to abortion. Where's medical privacy, bodily autonomy? You don't have it. You never did. No one did. They made it up for women who want to kill babies. That's it. It's the only time it's ever been useful for anybody. That's the only time it's ever been protected. So we'll touch on that because it's always a sore subject. All right. So with that said, let's get. Oh, and then we'll get into What the Fuck Wednesday. I do have a What the Fuck Wednesday story. Well, I have two kind of off the top of my head. One's a girl who died taking a bath. She dropped her cell phone in the bathtub and died from it. So that was stupid. That was not good at all for her. And then the other one is this. Some of you guys may have seen this. There's a TikTok account apparently. And I think I have seen, I don't really use TikTok. I mean, I have a TikTok, but it's basically dormant. I mostly go through Instagram, though. People re-upload TikTok shit to Instagram a ton. And there's this account that's called like Nightlife or whatever. And they go to different cities and they just set up a tripod outside of clubs and they film typically the women like walking in and out of the clubs in like their nightclub attire. And I mean, I think the concept is to like show guys effectively what the women look like in different cities, how they dress, how they act or whatever. But women are pissed off about this. So I think it's an interesting subject because some of them are saying that's stalking, which is absolutely not stalking, that it's a breach of their privacy or something like that, which seems a little weird. But it is also like kind of weird. Like some of them are just like, well, this is creepy as fuck. I mean, kind of like it kind of is, but is it? I don't know. We have these again. Now we have these weird sort of concepts like that you can be out in public, but that some public spaces like aren't for people to be public. Like there's a public and then there's like it's public, but not for you. Like, you know, it's, so I don't know. I don't actually have an answer on that one. I'm just going to kind of noodle through it as we go. Here we go. C. Goody says Recato laws on the erosion of the Fourth Amendment, a case study. Old favorite of mine. Oh, cool. That's an old live stream I did on the erosion of the Fourth Amendment. Thank you, C. Goody. He's got a link in there. Shut Up, I Can Cook says, Nick, on second glance, I like the sweater. Nice color. When you read this, I'm in ZZZZZZ land. I don't think so. Cookie. No, Lady Raggis was wearing a similarly colored sweater today. So I figured I would just go ahead and match it with this sweater. I had never worn this. I'm too lazy to do my own shopping. I think I mentioned this before. I use like a clothing. It's so gay, but it's really handy for families, especially. We use this service. It's called Stitch Fix, and they just send like you schedule out how often you want clothes to arrive, and then they just send you boxes of clothing that often, like once a month, once every 3 months. It's like for adults, it's like 5 articles of clothing. I usually get 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants, or 2 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, and shoes. You can get like belts and ties and different accessories too. I don't really need those. I have what I want, but you can do that. What the hell is this? Why is it not loading? Anyway, so I don't even like pick out my clothes anymore. They just get sent to me, which is great. Because shopping for kids, when you have 5 of them, takes an eternity. And shopping for, me is something I never want to do. And shopping for Lady Raggets is usually fun, although exhausting. And so it's nice to just have stuff show up. And you like set your budget and everything. It's really cool. But yeah, no decisions. Don't make them if you don't have to. Frederick Little says, glad to be a member for 37 months, Nick. Keep up the great content. Hey, thank you, Frederick Little. Just another guy says, shout out to these people that gave me membership for 4 months now. Lucky me, lol. Get it. If you're at streams all the time and people do donate memberships, then you'll probably get one. Jadine says, dear Nick, huge fan, you shyster fucking lawyer. Hey, thanks, buddy. Very much appreciate that. And then Isaac Brooks, Wholesome Gabagool Art, says, that's a broke Duckman sweater. Have a drink. Broke Duckman sweater. What's a Duckman? Did I finish Christmas shopping with Lady Raggets yet? Conceptually, we're very close. Like there's a couple items that I have to get, but I know what they are. So that's easy. What's the name of your clothes? Well, it's not my clothes service. The one we use is called Stitch Fix. Reference to Chris Chan's bent duck. Oh, cool. I don't think you mean duck. All right, let's get into this. Oh shit. Wait, I do have to check something here. All right, perfect. We'll do that tomorrow probably. Here I am with an internal monologue being external. Ikagu says, this is Charleston White. He is a comedian and an activist. I'm going to save this one, Ikagu, for when we're over on Rumble exclusively. All right, here we go. Where were we? We're going to start with Hunter Biden. That's what it was. Good Lord. All right. Now, Carrion says, I read Alpha Core. It is hilariously bad. There's even a Fourth Amendment violation by one of the cops ripping open a safety deposit box without a warrant while saying it is better to ask for forgiveness. No, actually, in Fourth Amendment violations, it is the opposite. It's definitely not better to ask for forgiveness, especially because you typically have a rubber stamp on. This is the most frustrating part of Fourth Amendment violations these days. Warrants are so easy to get. And in many areas, you can get a warrant issued remotely by cell phone in minutes. It's crazy. Maybe it's the sweater, but you look like you've lost weight. Well, it depends on when you're going from. I've been around at 170 for quite a bit now. Right at like 169 to 172 is where I hover. And that's where I want to be until I get like less lazy and lift. But so never. But no, there was a time when I was up over 200 pounds and decided to fat shame myself. But thank you. I don't know. I'll take it as a compliment. Here we go. Hunter Biden. Oh, but yeah, the Fourth Amendment, real quick. Fourth Amendment violations. Again, you can just get a warrant. All you have to do is have an oath or affirmation of an officer to the court justifying probable cause. Here are the facts that justify probable cause. This is easy. You can do it literally over the phone in many jurisdictions. Why don't they? Well, the officer has to, under oath, state the facts that lay out probable cause. And the crazy thing is, even when they do it in a shitty way, they still get the warrant most of the time. The only time they don't do it or don't get it is it's got to be so bad. They have to have literally nothing. And yet they won't get them. Why won't they get them when they can do it easily? Well, that's up to you to figure out. Well, thank you, Luca. Christmas party at my house, all subscribers welcomed. That would not be a fun party. There would be people stepping on Legos and dying. Okay, so here we go. This is from Law and Crime. The statute, sorry, I still love them. The statute is indefensible. Hunter Biden uses Justice Thomas's major Second Amendment decision to attack special counsel's gun indictment. And look at these two. They're looking at the same meme, you can tell. Criminal defense lawyers for President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, filed motions to dismiss his federal gun indictment in Delaware on multiple different grounds on Monday, arguing in one motion that special counsel David Weiss failed to bring a constitutionally permissible charge in light of the conservative majority's major Second Amendment ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen. By the way, I do plan on bringing Fudbusters on very soon to give kind of just a general Second Amendment update, talk about gun shit. And also he looks like he was at least threatening someone with a good time on Twitter the other day. So that prompted me to reach out. We just got to schedule it. That looks like that's always a fun conversation. That June 2022 opinion in Bruen was penned by Justice Clarence Thomas. While Thomas was joined by each of the conservative justices on the court, then Justice Stephen Breyer, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, and Justice Elena Kagan dissented. Shocker. After a plea deal fell apart over the summer, this plea deal was one of the most corrupt things ever. It was insane that it was going to go through and no one was going to like check into it. And then suddenly they did. Like, I think the judge like looked at it and was like, wait, what the fuck is happening here? I don't know all of the details about it, and I don't remember them. I just remember how shady it, like the shadiness level of it. If you want really good information on this stuff and really good information about Hunter Biden, January 6th guys, I dip my toes in this stuff. I find it interesting, but you want the best coverage on this stuff in general? Robert Gouveia, watching the Watchers. This dude is doing fucking bombshell coverage of these cases, of this area of law. If this is what you like want to get great information on, and he's very smart, very well spoken. Love the dude, very sharp, and his show's well organized. Like mine's very catastrophically me, which some people find charming because, you know, instead of getting the information right away, they want it to take hours, and they want to wade through tangents and ADD and shit like that. But like well organized, well done show from a really good dude who's always been very solid in his coverage and just seems to be a stand-up dude. I've never heard a bad word about him. Robert Gouveia has covered all this stuff very extensively. You can go watch his coverage of the plea deal if you want really, like, again, just spot on coverage of it. But he's great all around. Hunter Biden was indicted in September on 3 charges that he now argues should all be dismissed. I think it's actually a total of 9 charges for Hunter, if I'm not mistaken, but 3 of them are related to the guns, I believe. Robert Gouveia, not Goulet, Robert Gouveia. What? Not Greg McNeely's not Nate the Lawyer. I love Nate the Lawyer. Nate's awesome. I don't know that I haven't seen him covering this. Robert Gouveia, I see he gets in my recommended all the time on these subjects. So these are the like. He's all over this shit. All right. The first count alleged that Biden knowingly made a false and fictitious written statement intended and likely to deceive a gun company to obtain a Colt Cobra 38 SPL revolver that he was not see, I hate this. We're going to talk about this in a second. That he was not an unlawful user of and addicted to any stimulant, narcotic, drug, and any other controlled substance, when in fact, as he knew, that statement was false and fictitious. The second count alleged that Biden falsely certified to the ATF on Form 4473 that he was not an unlawful user of or addicted to drugs. So here's an issue for me. Biden... There's a couple issues with this. We're going to get to the Form 4473, and both of these charges are from the same. Both of these charges stem from the same set of facts, right? He has to fill out the 4473 form to purchase a firearm, and that form is what is used to for the gun store owner to make the determination to, you know, actually execute the sale. But he knowingly made a false and fictitious written statement intended and likely to deceive a gun company. You know what I don't give a fuck about? You know what I don't give a fuck about? Deceiving a private company. Remember that the deception of the private company is to affect a purchase. It's not like he deceived them to swindle them out of a product or, you know, take their property or to put them in legal jeopardy in any way. He lied not to the company, actually. He lied to the government, which I can't endorse because it's illegal for some reason to lie to the government. But lying to lying to a company, who cares? You shouldn't lie, like I guess is a general moral principle. But what the fuck do I care if you lie to a corporation? And then the result of the lie is you give them money and they give you a property that is a fair and even exchange. Why is that? How could that possibly be illegal? And look, I know that means like, well, a minor could lie to a bar and obtain liquor. Well, sure, I guess. But the problem is not that the minor lied to the bar. Like the bar then just became a tool for the minor to illegally consume liquor. That's a different question. The lie is irrelevant to me. Look, if you go into Best Buy right now and you lie to them and they sell you something because of the lie, I try and fathom how this works in just about any other retail setting. Like, you don't have to lie to buy a pizza, right? Like, you don't have to lie to buy a shirt. There's very little that you would have to lie about at all to obtain something, but guns are special. Drugs, like prescription drugs, are special, I guess. But I don't give a shit if you lie to a private company. Why would I? Why do you guys care about that? It's the fucking weirdest thing ever. Ancient Gamer says, but the bar then takes on liability. They shouldn't, though. If someone lies to them about their age and they serve them, that shouldn't be on the bar. That should be on the person, right? Now, I know bars have this affirmative duty to, check some sort of government ID, make reasonable attempts to, ascertain the age, but the lie still isn't the problem. Lying to the company isn't the problem. The minor consuming the alcohol is the problem. That's the illegal act. Why is the lie to do that? Why is that specifically illegal? And again, in this particular context, remember that it's already a lie, or it's already a crime to lie on Form 4473. That's the crime of lying to the government. Do I think lying to the government should be a crime? No, because there shouldn't be a 4473 because the Second Amendment is real. But there is one. Lying to the government is a crime. How can lying to the government be a crime? Honestly, when you think hard about this, when you think about concepts of free speech, you think about the essential components of liberty, lying to the government becomes a crime in certain instances. Now, it's not normally, it's not always a crime, right? Like if a police officer comes up and says, what are you doing? And you say nothing when you're actually doing something, that's not a crime. It can become a crime to lie to law enforcement under certain circumstances, sure. But just generally speaking, lying to anybody isn't a crime. Is it a moral good? Sometimes no. Sometimes it really doesn't fucking matter, right? Hey, Nick, what'd you have for dinner? Oh, I had Salisbury steak. Does it matter if I had Salisbury steak? No. That lie doesn't matter. It would never matter to anybody on earth, except the one Salisbury steak guy who's like, oh, there's one other person who likes that. Like, no, actually, I do love Salisbury steak. It's fucking delicious. But that's like lying in and of itself to a third party, to like a fucking private company. Who cares? I would encourage you all tomorrow to go just lie to some company. Just any irrelevant lie. Just go tell them the sky is orange. Might matter to Lady Rackets. Well, yeah, if you lie to Lady Rackets, or if I lie to Lady Rackets, it might matter. Maybe. But it depends on the lie, right? People lie constantly. And actually, just a brief side note. I know some people say lying's a sin or whatever. Lying is not a sin. That's not what the commandment or the commandment is. The commandment is not to bear false witness. It gets truncated, thou shalt not lie. But that's highly impractical. Bearing false witness means to lie with the purpose of causing harm to the reputation of another or gaining for yourself at someone else's expense. That's a different thing. People say white lies all the time. When are you going to be there? 4 minutes. It's actually going to be 10, right? Like, it's going to be 10. You have a GPS, but you say 4 because you want them to stop calling you. People do that shit all the time. It's not a big deal. No one's harmed in this. But it's when you lie to cause harm, either reputationally, monetarily, or whatever to someone else. It's when you lie to gain some undue benefit for yourself. This isn't an undue benefit. Lying to a company that sells guns is not in any way a problem for me. Secondly, the second issue is different. As an attorney with a professional license, I am obligated by my ethical requirements to state that you should not lie to the government on your Form 4473. But the Form 4473 is a bunch of fucking bullshit. It is cockamamie bullshit, right? We all know this. The fact that you have to fill out a form and ask daddy government permission for your shall not be infringed right to acquire a firearm so that you may keep it and bear it is bullshit. That's bullshit. Nerd Tremble says, so a terrorist should be allowed to lie to get a gun? Nerd Tremble. No, we live in America with a Second Amendment. And that Second Amendment states your right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. My friend, I know this is hard, but it means that the question in and of itself, the existence of permission from government to execute your own right is offensive to the notion of essential liberty at the onset. The terrorist shouldn't have to lie to get the gun because the terrorist should never be asked the question because this is America. Well, Nick, won't that put people in more danger? Maybe. But trust me, the Form 4473 has never stopped a terrorist from getting a gun. Ever. Not once. Not once has the Form 4473 prevented a massacre. It's like, well, guys, a massacre was going to occur, but a 4473, we went ahead and fixed that one. No big deal. Because they couldn't just lie on it. And they didn't just get it from literally anywhere else on the planet. They're like, you know what? They're like, God damn, I'm going to the school. I'm going to shoot up all these Jewish children. They're going to go do that, right? And so they go to the gun store so they can murder and ethnically cleanse a school in, I don't know, Rhode Island. And they're like, they get the 4473 and they're like, oh, God damn it. I guess I can't go murder a school now because the government asked me if I'm a fucking terrorist. Shit. The weight we put on, the weight we put on these laws, like the process is so fucking insane. It is so insane. Look at what we think stops crime. Well, they were going to, Bill over there, he was just going to go murder all the blacks in Alabama. What stopped him? Well, he went to the government store and they're like, do you smoke weed? He's like, I smoked a weed or two. Oh, well, good thing we had that form. It's completely voluntary and there's no other way to acquire any of these guns. This is insane. It's theater. And yet everybody's like, well, if we just make another law and have another question on the form, well, that'll fix it. Have they ever played World of Warcraft? Because if they have, wait, they're not going outside and answering these forms anyway. Oh my God. But let's get back to this. The entire question is offensive. And that's what Bruen ultimately states. Right? That's the whole purpose of Bruen, is to say, this is not within the historical tradition of the United States. That's the challenge Hunter Biden is making. There is no historical basis, no historical analog for this type of gun regulation. You cannot put people on a list and demand them to potentially violate their Fifth Amendment rights so they can exercise their second. The third count charge that Biden illegally possessed the Colt Cobra 38 SPL revolver from October 12, 2018 to October 23, 2018 for 11 days while quote unquote knowing that he was an unlawful user of or addicted to drugs. The third count charged under 18 USC 922 G3 doesn't pass constitutional muster. Because of that, the first and second count should be thrown out too. Wait, what is this? Fuck off. Wait a minute. I want to read this section. So this is G3. I'll pull it over here and just once I get down to it. Okay. So here we go. This is the law here. It shall be unlawful for any person, quote, who is an unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance as defined in Section 102 of the Controlled Substances Act. Then we go down to all of the end here. For what? It is unlawful for them to what? It doesn't say what. I guess we have to go down fucking farther. But it shall be unlawful basically for them to own or possess a firearm. Now, this is, again, this is a huge constitutional issue when you really get down to this. When you really get down to this, this is a huge constitutional issue. Where on earth is the constitutional authority to infringe the Second Amendment rights of someone who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance? Now, there may be basis to temporarily, at the time of intoxication, restrict possession of a firearm. That might be a reasonable restriction on the Second Amendment that comports with a historical tradition. I don't know that it actually does, but that might be. The reason would be like, as someone is intoxicated or impaired, the concept would be that they become less capable of, being safe with a firearm. Some people will dispute that. Some people won't. Doesn't really matter. That's the concept. But someone who is an unlawful user or addicted to, what does that actually mean? So some people are addicted to substances but not using them, for example. They're addicted to a thing, but they're in treatment or recovery. They're not using them. They don't have access to them. Or some people consider their recovery to be a something that is an ongoing for the rest of their life condition. So their addiction is never cured, so to speak. They're always addicted. They're just always, they're not actively using, but they could relapse at any moment. So they not addicted, or are they addicted? Because if they're addicted but not using, then they can't own a gun. Now, if they're an unlawful user, what does that mean? Does that mean that they used it once? Does that mean that they're using it currently? Does it mean that they use it once a day, once a week, once a month, once a year? What is this? Actually very vague, which is unconstitutional on its face, unconstitutionally vague. But what does an unlawful user mean? Now, we are further complicated by some states have made some drugs either decriminalized or lawful, right? Marijuana being the big one. But so what does it mean at that point to be an unlawful user? Because federally, you're still unlawful. If you ever use weed in any capacity, in any form, in any amount of THC, federally, you are an unlawful user of a substance that is banned by the Controlled Substances Act. So once you use weed once, are you now a user? You are unlawful. Are you now a user? Even if you have a prescription card, by the way, you're still unlawful on that one. Weed is a Schedule A controlled substance, THC is. There is no prescribable medical use for marijuana according to Congress. That's the problem with the Schedule A categorization of marijuana, is that there is no therapeutic or medicinal purpose. So even if you get a prescription card, you're still an unlawful user. There is no lawful purpose for it at all, according to Congress. Now, is that according to science or medicine? No, of course not. But according to Congress, and that's who matters here. So how do we reconcile this? What is an unlawful user? Because the federal government isn't enforcing its marijuana laws. So are you unlawful at that point? If your state has legalized it, the federal government isn't interfering with that. Are you now an unlawful user? Yes, technically you are. But are you? Like, conceptually, can you reconcile that with yourself? I don't know. But this is an unconstitutionally vague demand. But let's step back there. It's not unconstitutionally vague. The whole thing is fucking unconstitutional. Fugitive from justice, they don't have Second Amendment rights. Since when? Convicted in any court of a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. Why? Where's that? How is that constitutional to take guns away from someone who has ever been convicted of a felony? Adjudicated as a mental defective or who has been committed to a mental institution. Why do they lose Second Amendment rights? And you go, oh, because retards are dangerous or whatever. Well, maybe, but lots of people are dangerous and you don't lose your Second Amendment right just because you might be dangerous. Lots of mentally ill people are not dangerous. Who being an alien is illegally or unlawfully in the United States. This might be permissible. Might be permissible. These ones, just because we do actually have special control over, over immigration and naturalization. Congress probably has the ability to regulate this. But here's the question. This is probably the least enforced one. Discharge from the armed forces under dishonorable conditions. So you get dishonorably discharged from the armed forces. You can never own a firearm in the United States again. Why? Does anyone have any idea why dishonorable discharge from the armed forces would mean you can never own a firearm again? What the fuck does that have to do with your Second Amendment right? Because you're a threat to who? You're dishonorably discharged from the voluntary military service because of acts committed as a soldier or officer of the United States that make you unfit to be a soldier or officer of the United States. They don't make you unfit to be a citizen of the United States. Dishonorable is the same as a conviction? No, a conviction is a conviction. Anyone who says a dishonorable is the same as a conviction must then accept the idea that the Uniform Code of Military Justice and its enforcement is a direct one-to-one analog of a criminal conviction. And then if you get to that ridiculous conclusion, which I will not be with you on, but except arguendo, assuming arguendo that conclusion is true, I then go back to this first one. Why is someone who has been convicted of a felony not entitled to execute their Second Amendment rights? Where does that come from? Where is that in the Constitution? Now, maybe during the pendency of their punishment while they're in prison or on government probation, right? That makes sense. Oh, you get 2 years in prison, you get 3 years of government probation, 5 total years, 5 years, no guns. Makes sense to me. After government probation is ended, you're now a citizen. You have been rehabilitated by the system. So you don't get guns ever again? Wait, why? Why is that? Why is any of this acceptable under the Second Amendment? The Second Amendment does not contain exceptions. All exceptions to these amendments that are not specifically written down are inferred by the court. So how do we get to these? Having been a citizen of the United States has renounced his citizenship. So non-citizens at all don't get guns. I mean, I guess that doesn't make any sense, though, because now people disagree with this, but non-citizens have full constitutional rights in the United States if you're under the jurisdiction of the United States. And this, I think, this is an interesting and important thing about the Constitution, for better or worse. And people have arguments that are great on both sides of this. But for better or worse, the Constitution extends to everyone under the jurisdiction of the United States at the present time, citizen or not. And there are arguments on both sides of that as to whether or not that's good. But if we accept that premise, someone who renounces their citizenship, they're not allowed to have firearms. Why? Anyone under the jurisdiction of the United States has a Second Amendment right. Everyone, any and everyone, not just Americans. Same with free speech, same with Fourth Amendment, same with Fifth Amendment. And we understand why most of these are important, right? Like, just because someone is not a citizen doesn't mean that they shouldn't have protection from government intrusion into their persons, papers, and effects and all that shit, right? Well, maybe it's not right. To me, it is. Just because they're not a citizen, they shouldn't have it. But wait, why are guns different? Guns are always different. Sinister Goon says, weren't all felonies punishable by death at the time of ratification? Yes. But that does not mean that all felonies were punished by death at the time of ratification. In the same way that we have a death penalty now, not every capital murder case is a death penalty or ends up with a death penalty sentence. So subject to a court order. Now, this one makes sense. If the court order says that you can't have guns, then you can't have guns. Presumably, you've had process at that point. But we've got these things. And this involves, subject to a court order that was issued after a hearing of which such person received actual notice and they had an opportunity to participate, restrains a person from harassing, stalking, or threatening an intimate partner. So these are, a restraining order, domestic restraining orders. Includes a finding that they represent a credible threat to the physical safety and by its terms explicitly prohibits the use, attempted use, or threatened use of physical force against such intimate partner. So they have to have, again, this is a process by which notice and opportunity is given, and they lose that privilege while under the order. That makes sense. And then finally, who's been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence. And this one is amazing. This one is amazing. Because think about that. Now, a lot of people don't know what domestic violence means. All right? When people think domestic violence, they go to two places: spousal abuse and child abuse. Makes sense, right? Easy. Have you ever had a roommate? Not someone you were having sex with, but you called him a roommate because you're gay or whatever. Just literally a roommate. Have you ever had a roommate, like your friend from high school or something? Did you guys ever get into a fight? Get into a fight, one of you spits in the other one's eye or mouth and doesn't say it's hot? Punch someone, get drunk, throw a fucking book at them. Someone gets drunk and hits someone with a glass or a bottle or something. It's never happened to me, by the way, but I know that it does happen to some people. In Minnesota, that's domestic violence. Not an intimate partner, not a girlfriend, not a boyfriend, not a kid, not a parent, not a spouse, not a grandpa, grandma, aunt, uncle, cousin. No, literally a roommate that you have no familial connection to. Misdemeanor crime of domestic violence if you punch your roommate. You may not have even reported it, right? Your neighbor calls the cops because someone heard him call him the F slur and body slam him through a table because they deserved it. because they said Halo 2 wasn't as good as Halo 4. Oh, you fucker. So you do it, right? That's a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence. But where on earth, where do people lose permanently rights over a misdemeanor anywhere? This is again, even if you accept all the other stuff is fine, this is insane. This is such a gross violation of the Second Amendment that it's hard to fathom that this law exists and has not been struck down. But it does. Jadine says, hey, Nick, huge fan here. No matter how drunk you get, I will always be drunker. Wait, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Dude, it's probably not as bad as you think, but it is bad. It is bad. You should get help, Jadine, because I'm dying. My liver is actually, well, my liver won't fail because my liver is a survivor like Beyonce or whatever, but it has left my body. It's left. It stopped paying rent and it left. So if I'm going to die and you're drunker, you're going to die faster. So get help, my friend. The Squid says, I don't understand what substance abuse, fraud, evading taxes, etc. has to do with Second Amendment. I get restricting rights for violent crimes, but everything else just doesn't make sense. Sure doesn't, does it? The Second Amendment is treated so much differently than every other fucking right. It's crazy. But Bruen stands to change that. And we're going to go back here. Sorry, I wanted to read that. We're going to go back to Hunter Biden. We're going to go back to Hunter Biden. So yeah, he says that the first and second counts should be thrown out too. All of them, all three of these counts should be thrown out. And is Hunter Biden right? Of course he is. Of course Hunter Biden is right. The prosecution charges that Mr. Biden violated a rarely used statute that it claims prevented him from owning a firearm as an unlawful user of a controlled substance. But that statute's status-based prohibition on gun ownership recently was struck down as unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. CUS v. Daniels, Fifth Circuit, based Oklahoma court, if I remember right, did US v. Daniels. Let's check and just see if I'm right on that. US v. Daniels, 20. Fucking hell. This is Fifth Circuit. Which one? Oh, no, this is from Mississippi. Southern Mississippi is where this one came from. But yeah, so CUS versus Daniels. The motion said, not only does the unconstitutionality of Section 922G3 render Mr. Biden's alleged violation of that unconstitutional statute baseless, it compels the same conclusion as to the prosecution's charges that Mr. Biden made a false statement in denying his status as a user of controlled substance under 922A6 and caused the seller, a holder of a federal firearms license, to maintain a record of this false answer in violation of 924A1A. And he's right here. He's right here. It is unconstitutional to bar, quote unquote, a quote unquote unlawful user of a controlled substance, whatever that actually means. That's unconstitutionally vague and overbroad, in my opinion. But whatever that means. Hold on. Whatever that means, it's unconstitutional to do this restriction. How can you restrict some? This is not. The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say unless you're a felon or a druggie or a migrant or anything. None of this is there. None of that is it. It just says it shall not be infringed. It is the most clear one, and it's treated as the most muddy. It's so fucking funny because everybody just pretends that that's normal. If we did this for any other amendment or right, people would lose their shit. Jadine says, Nick, I am the help. You just don't realize it yet. Wait, what do you mean you're the help? Okay. I use help. Oh, because I said get help. I am the help. I am the one who knocks on the bottle. Mim Moko says a toast to Joe Bowerman. Oh, yes. I need to respond to you, brother. Farmer, great grandfather, devoted husband, euchre master. The fuck is a euchre master? Resort owner and best damn father-in-law for 28 years. He has gone to lie down in greener pastures. I miss him. To Joe Burman. Look, Mim Moko said who he was. Mim Moko knows the man. And I say knows the man. One, because of the nose, and two, because new is passive. Or no, new is past tense. New is past tense. But you don't unknow someone because their body is now an empty vessel, right? Like they're dead. You don't stop knowing them. You still know them. Mim Moko knows the man. Though he may no longer be with us. His legacy is clearly felt. Not just in one man requesting a toast. Not just in one son-in-law. But in a lineage of people up, down, left, and right from his position and every other point on that matrix. A network of people built with the influence of one humble farmer who decided to live in a way that was worthy of note, worthy of comment, and worthy of study. May we all strive to achieve the same. Cheers, Mim Moko. Cheers to Joe. All right. Back to this. We'll be popping over to Rumble in just a second. In support of his argument, Biden looked to the conservative justices' Second Amendment jurisprudence to argue that the statute is out of step with this nation's historical tradition on firearm regulation. Great argument. Gun control is a politically charged topic, and the scope of permissible gun control laws consistent with the Second Amendment has been a divisive legal issue among scholars. No. Let's just go ahead and say this the appropriate way. Gun control is a politically charged topic. The scope of permissible gun control laws consistent with the Second Amendment is fucking zero. That's it. It's the only way to say this. It's zero. It's not real. There's no justifiable gun control law consistent with the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed is not ambiguous. There is no wiggle room. There is no vagary. There is no ability to infringe the right. The only thing you might be able to do is to voluntarily forfeit the right in the same way you can voluntarily forfeit any right by abusing said right to violate the law, and then you can be temporarily restricted because you have given up access to that right for a period of time consummate with the violation. Just like your liberty, your freedom of movement, your freedom of speech, all of those things are truncated in the face of active felony punishment. But outside of that, there can be no restriction. It says shall not be infringed. Now I know this is the logical, libertarian, textualist, historicalist, originalist perspective that says, where the fuck is that ambiguous in the slightest? But people have read shall not be infringed to mean, quite literally, shall not be infringed, well, except all of the time. Beardo says, how about voting? Voting is actually not a fundamental right. People often get this one wrong. You have no fundamental right to vote. Your right to vote exists solely as a Fifth Amendment and 14th Amendment equal protection substantive right. Because the government gives the ability to vote to people, it must do so equally under the 14th Amendment. That's basically how this works. The government is not required to give us the right to vote, the access to the vote in the presidential election, at least. They're not required to do that. But once they do that, they have to do it equally under the 14th. Jadine says the right to self-defense has no end. The laws that limits that right should be questioned at every turn. I agree. So here we go. The Supreme Court in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen recently adopted a test for evaluating the constitutionality of restrictions on the possession of firearms. To resolve many of those issues, the motion said, Supreme Court held that an individual's right to possess a handgun is presumptively protected by the Second Amendment. It means they have to overcome the presumption. This is one actual problem with this, though. This is limited to handguns in Bruen. Biden's lawyers noted the conservative U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit and U.S. v. Daniels just recently applied the new Bruen framework to Section 922G3's prohibition on gun ownership by persons who is a user of or addicted to controlled substances. I believe it was marijuana in this case. Same statute at issue in Mr. Biden's case. Had no difficulty finding the statute unconstitutional, as they shouldn't have. Saying the challenge statute is indefensible under the Bruen framework, Biden reiterated that there is no historical precedent for prohibiting gun ownership by persons who had any history of ingesting intoxicating substances. Rather, the motion said the problems associated with intoxication were addressed by prohibiting certain conduct while intoxicated. Exactly. While intoxicated is the key. Now, there is a really interesting sort of concept around this that is frustrating. So to actually have committed, this is very semantic and very lawyerly, but it's very true. Have you commit a crime if you are not convicted? Well, no. Right? No. Now you can walk up in the middle of broad daylight and put a gun to someone's head and shoot them and they die. And you wanted that, and you had no justification for it. Have you commit a crime? Maybe. But until you're convicted, no. The presumption is innocence. Now, this is the question. Hunter Biden, to my knowledge, was not convicted of using a controlled substance, right? He wasn't convicted of it. There's pictures of him with controlled substances, allegedly. I'll assume that they are. Let's say it's pictures of him with lines of cocaine and hookers and shit. Was Hunter Biden an unlawful user of a controlled substance? If he's not convicted, then literally no. And that's a really troublesome aspect of the Form 4473, right? Because again, this is a Fifth Amendment issue. You have a right, an absolute right against self-incrimination. It's a pretty well protected right. So if they ask you, are you an unlawful user of a controlled substance? Well, if you're not convicted, how can you be an unlawful user of a controlled substance? It's impossible in practicality. Now, the concept is, are you saying you should be convicted? Right? Like that's actually what they're asking. Are you saying you should be convicted? But if Hunter Biden was not actually convicted, he's not an unlawful user. That makes people uncomfortable, right? Some guy can just rip a 10-foot line of cocaine and then dive into a pool of liquid acid and then just sit there and go like a cat and then come out and then, shove Molly up his butthole. Does all that. Is that an unlawful user of a controlled substance? Doesn't seem controlled, for one, but not until he's convicted, right? How can you be? J-Core says he videoed himself smoking crack. First of all, how do you know that was crack? He said so because someone looked at it and said, that looks like crack. Probably was crack. I'm not arguing with you, but how do you know it's crack? Did you test it? Did you bring it into court and say, this is crack? Did we get the facts on that one sussed out through due process? Or was there a video that said, this guy looks like he's smoking fucking crack? Second one. if you've not been convicted, you haven't done anything illegal. Now, you may end up having done something illegal. You may not have done anything illegal yet. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But until you're convicted, it's not illegal. If you go take money from a bank, I'll word it that way. You go up to a bank and hand them a piece of paper that says, give me $10,000, and they give you $10,000, and then you just leave and you're not convicted. Have you robbed that bank? Maybe they wanted to give you the money, right? Maybe they thought it was a good idea. Oh yeah, here's 10 grand. And you walk away. You're like, that was easy. Are you convicted? You're not convicted. Did you rob that bank? Should they have given you the money? Maybe not, but they're fucking bad, right? And that's how most bank robberies occur. I don't know if people realize this anymore because like movies are so fucking stupid, but most bank robberies occur because someone slides a note that says, hey, give me whatever's in the drawer. And then the bank teller opens the thing up and gives them like $8,000 and then they walk away. I just asked. This is not legal advice, but there's a real interesting question, right? If you go up to a bank teller and you don't threaten anything, you don't represent that you have a weapon, just go, I'm going to need you to open up that drawer, put it in a bag, and give it to me, whatever's in there. And they unload like $3,300, right? Because they have like a second drawer that's secure. They have access to like a cash box or whatever. They just load in $3,300 and put it in a bag and hand it to you, and you walk away. Did you rob the bank? First of all, banks are run by Jews. Yes, you definitely did. But in concept, you walk up to a bank teller, say, what I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to need you to open that cash drawer, grab a bag, and put all the money in that cash drawer in that bag and give it to me. You don't point a gun at them. You don't say I have a bomb. You don't lie to the company, right? Like you just say that, exactly that. And they do it. Did you rob the bank? Under the law, you probably did. But did you? They didn't have to give you the money. Well, what if I didn't give them the money? I don't know. What's he going to do? Walk away, probably. Shit, that didn't work. No one do that, by the way. Do not do that. But it's an interesting question because we have so changed the rules on what it means. And the banks, by the way, will tell tellers, yeah, just put the money in the bag. We got it all on camera. Put the money in the bag. Give it to them. You don't know if they've got someone's kid. You don't know if they got a bomb or a gun or whatever. Just give them the money that's in the drawer. That's why you only have like $2,000 at a time. And if you need more than that, you go to the cash box and you have to put in your code and it dispenses it out. That's why they have it that way. Shouldn't have given me $3,500. Did you rob the bank though? I don't think so. Did you threaten anyone? Did you demand anything? You're going to cause violence? Did you lie? No. You just said, hey, I think you should do that. And they're like, yeah, I agree. Fuck me. That would be the most interesting criminal defense case you could possibly have. Right? Well, he robbed the bank. Well, he's charged with robbery. What did he do? Well, he walked up to the teller and asked him to get all the money out of the drawer and put it in a bag. Okay. Well, you just asked him to? Yeah. Teller was afraid. Well, you threatened the teller? Well, no. You have a gun? I don't know. Did you show the gun to the teller? No. Did you save a bomb or anything? No. How's that steal? Like, how's that robbery? We told the teller to put the money in a bag and the teller did it. That was stupid. Pretty interesting. The defense summed up the argument this way. While Congress could criminalize gun possession from someone who is actively intoxicated, or perhaps someone who at least actively had a controlled substance in their body, I disagree with the second one, actually. It's got to be actively intoxicated. That's the only time they're a danger. I actually disagree with the first one, but I don't know where the right to keep and bear arms stops because you're intoxicated. I know that's scary for people. Do not use guns while you're intoxicated, but I'm just saying. A prohibition on gun ownership by anyone who had at some time used a controlled substance is constitutionally overbroad under Bruen, overbroad and vague. And that's not under Bruen. That's just overbroad and vagueness. Those are two different doctrines. Bruen is completely different, but it also doesn't comply with Bruen. Jadine says, have to go to bed. Hey, good night, buddy. Nick, you are my favorite shyster. Have a good night. Hey, you're my favorite shyster appreciator. Take my money, you shyster, but at least you're a politician. Good night. I'm not a politician. In a footnote, the defense gamed out a quote unquote absurd scenario where anyone in America who has used marijuana in the past could theoretically be prosecuted as a felon when later possessing a firearm. That's not absurd in any way. Even before Bruen, the statute has rarely used to charge anyone, particularly absent other more serious charges, because it would be absurd to apply it literally. The footnote said, roughly half of American adults, for example, have tried marijuana. There'd be a staggering number of felons in the United States if all those who did later came into possession of a firearm were prosecuted under the section. Hunter Biden separately asserted that indictment should be dismissed for selective vindictive prosecution and breaching the separation of powers. That I don't buy as much because Hunter, just because old Joe is president, prosecuting him might violate section of powers, but you are not in government and you are just Hunter. So you don't have any immunity. You don't have anything at all to protect you or to invoke the separation of powers. And good old Joe has the power of the pardon. He could pardon you from any of this federal shit. And we all know what Joe has told Hunter, right? I'm not going to let you go to jail, but can we fucking drag this out till after the election, you dumb piece of shit? Like, that's what Joe's saying. Like, he's fine pardoning Hunter, but he's got to do it after the election. Like, you might have to go to jail for a little bit. Matt HTX 777 says, I might actually try the bank thing for educational purposes. Thanks for the question. Nope. Do not do that. As your definite 100% lawyer on the internet, don't do that. It's a funny hypothetical. Do not do it. Hunter Biden separately asserted that indictment should be I mentioned that one. He also maintained that the since scuttled plea agreement to tax misdemeanors still renders him immune from being prosecuted in the gun case. Nope, I disagree with that one. The plea agreement doesn't exist, therefore there is no immunity, unless the immunity was somehow independent of not having the plea agreement stick around. That would be weird. The indictment against Mr. Biden must be dismissed because it violates a diversion agreement that is in effect. It's not in effect between Mr. Biden and the prosecution. The motion said, in exchange for Mr. Biden giving up various rights, including his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, by agreeing to the statement of facts drafted by the prosecution and numerous restrictions on his liberty, prosecution agreed to provide him immunity for any offense concerning his purchase of a firearm, among other offenses. In addition to the above, Hunter Biden's lawyers Abe Lowell and Bartholomew Dalton, Abe Lowell, Bartholomew, asked U.S. District Judge Marilyn Norica to set an evidentiary hearing on the motion to dismiss. So there you go. This is the Hunter Biden story. This is actually pretty interesting because, again, Hunter Biden's a piece of shit. Has probably done all sorts of crazy, corrupt, and illegal things and should probably be prosecuted for something. Red Knight, why do you keep licking that shaft? Why wouldn't you? Why do you lick the bottle? Well, if I set it down on my carpet and let the drips run down the bottle, then there will be liquor in my carpet. I would prefer the liquor on my tongue rather than in my carpet. Because, like, I don't want to get a fucking steam cleaner in here to clean up liquor from the carpet. Also because gay. No, but look, it's Hunter. Hunter Biden seems like a piece of shit. He seems like he's done all sorts of fun but very illegal things. Prosecute him for all of those. Don't fucking keep going with this gun shit just because it's Hunter Biden, and do not go along to get along just because it's him. People say there are no acceptable, or there's only acceptable targets or whatever. No. Excuse me. Had to yawn burp there. No, Hunter Biden's not an acceptable target to throw our rights in the garbage. Red Knight says I shouldn't have asked. Dude, no, like it's not a, it's such a weird thing. If you pour whiskey or wine, typically, because of the way glass bottles and the physical and chemical properties of adhesion work with liquids, properties of adhesion mean a drip, like you pour a stream, but as you stop that, a drip will adhere to the lip of a bottle and then run down the side of the bottle. It's just how liquids go, dude. Has to do with, I think, covalent bonding or something. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I took chemistry. But adhesion is this cool principle where a liquid will stick to a solid surface rather than just completely separate. It's why things run down. Water droplets would just fall off of everything, which would be weird. But that happens. If you pour something, you're going to get a drip very frequently. Now, I live in a weird place, or I'm in a weird place because I'm in an office, and that office has a carpet, and the surfaces to put bottles down are limited that I can access. So I just set them on the floor because it's convenient right next to me, but it's carpeted. So if I just let drips go down the side of the bottle and I set them all down, I'm going to have a sticky, old fucking whiskey mess on the carpet all the time. That's terrible. Would you want that in your carpet? I don't. And then cleaning it up is a fucking disaster. Why would you want to do that? What you could do is just practice your tongue skills, guys. They're useful. And you just lick the side of the bottle. Who fucking cares? Besides a bunch of retards on the internet, who cares? No one cares. Like it's so silly. But yeah, lick the bottle. Or like if you're up in your kitchen and you've got the bottle and you're gonna set it down on the counter, it's not the same thing. It doesn't matter. I'll still lick the bottle because, well, degenerate. And I think it's funny. But like, yeah, if you're pouring bottles and you're at a bar, it's not the same. But if you're gonna set them down on fucking carpet, you clean up carpet that's got a fucking whiskey ring from every bottle you pour from. That'd be terrible. He-Mag says, just say you like doing it. I obviously like doing it, but I didn't start off doing it because I liked it. I started off doing it because there's a fucking drip going down the bottle that you have to deal with in one way or another. And I'm not running to the kitchen during the middle of the show to get I got to get a cloth. Cloths are gay. All right, here we go. We are going to pop over to Rumble exclusively. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Sausage Finger, Nick's being awfully defensive. Not real. Like, no, it's not defense, man. It's just true. Like it's the funniest thing. Like you can think I drink too much. I don't. Who cares? That's irrelevant to everything. It's the licking the bottle thing is so funny to me because I've done it forever. People are like, he licks the bottle. It's like, yeah, 6 years. I thought it was funny from the start because I poured liquor and I'm like, oh my God, there's this drip running down. What do I do with it? Gay? Yeah, that's great. I think that's phenomenal. We're gonna pop over to Rumble. We're gonna finish the show. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys. I know December is not a consistent time. It's not a consistent time for me. I know for some of you, you understand it's the same. It's you're busy, you're all over the place, your schedule's fucked up. I am trying to be here as much as I can. I am still trying to get a daytime show in sometime this week. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know. I'm really working on it. Saturday, I'm not going to be available, but Sunday, the plan is to still do the movie stream that I didn't get one of those in Sunday either. But there is still a hope to do a live stream on YouTube/Rumble during the week sometime, because I didn't get to do one this past weekend. But it all depends on how my fucking schedule works out. And Lady Raggets told me tomorrow, she's like, tomorrow morning is kind of messy. So I never know. I never know what's up with that. If you do not follow us to Rumble, I bid you adieu. I love you still, YouTube audience. But hey, YouTube audience, I do love you, but you have to understand, as soon as I can make it happen, the Rumble flip is not going to happen anymore. YouTube live streams are going to go away in favor of Rumble exclusive live streams. YouTube is going to become a different channel. Not different channel. It's going to become a differently styled channel that will not have live streams on YouTube. It will have, well, let me roll that back. Predominantly, it will be shorts, YouTube shorts, like Instagram Reels and TikToks. It will be video on demand content, which is content over 1 minute and around under the 20-minute mark typically. And then for trials and very important events and direct examinations, those will all be streamed to YouTube still, YouTube and Rumble. Once I can get that worked out, though, the night show is not going to be streamed to YouTube anymore. And I understand. Some of you I may lose from streaming, and I hate that. I really do. But I don't like this Rumble transition. Rumble is my home, and I will be streaming exclusively there as soon as I can make that work. I think the YouTube to Rumble flip has worn its welcome out. It's cumbersome to the show. This right now is cumbersome, feels awkward. I don't like it. It's kind of fat. And I don't want to do it. I just want to stream to the place which will let me stream and be me. YouTube, I have to think. I have to be cautious. I have to be aware. Not aware in the general sense, but aware of YouTube's very specific and sometimes very novel period. By period, I mean PMS. Whatever their fucking thing du jour is to ruin you, to stop you from streaming or whatever. I don't like dealing with it. I don't want to deal with it. So YouTube, as soon as I can, YouTube will not be the home of the nightly live stream. Trials will still be streamed on YouTube and Rumble, unless something changes with that. But for now, trials will still be streamed on YouTube and Rumble. And then again, direct examination, my show where I just have a good conversation with someone for a couple hours without super chats or whatever. That's going to be on both because I want that to be seen by as many people as possible. Then very specific special events, congressional hearings, impeachments, shit like that. Those things will be streamed on both. But YouTube is going to be a place that is very different. It's going to be a more traditional channel that is focused on bringing people into tailored content for video on demand content, maybe made from live streams, probably not, probably constructed. They'll be on Rumble as well. And then the short content, specifically the Reels, the TikTok style, but for YouTube, those are about to get uploaded en masse. I keep saying that, but it will happen. I'm just trying to let people know that YouTube is not going to even have the first hour to hour and a half of streaming at some point soon. That will all be on Rumble because what I'm doing right now, I hate this. I just want to stream on the one platform that gives me absolute freedom. I don't want to tone down part of a show. So if you haven't tried Rumble in a while, if you're hesitant on Rumble, and for some weird reason, my show is what gets your juices flowing, check out Rumble soon, because once I get the opportunity, I will not be streaming on YouTube anymore for the night show and the majority of shows. This is so unnatural and it so conflicts with how I do things. And I have to think about it. I have to be cognizant of the time, and it's just gone on too long to me. But I'll let you know if that changes. But for now, that's my personal opinion. So come check out Rumble if you haven't. It's a good platform, good people. And I do want to have the CEO on very soon, hopefully this week or next week, before Christmas, and we'll talk to him about what's in store. Let's hit some YouTube super chats. There's a couple left, and then we're going to go to Rumble. Minor Zircon says Hunter is the best Second Amendment advocate for 2023. Agree? Right now, he is. Because he's got the name recognition and he's on the opposite side arguing for the correct principle. Kate C, aka Snake Plush Kitten. Duckman was one of the homeless people in Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels who walked around with a duck on his head. Oh. I started playing Discworld. I got stuck right away in the first disc of the first game, and then I stopped. But it was funny. Bobby, Parker's convenience store got sued over Paul Murdaugh buying alcohol at their gas station underage. Yes, I disagree with those laws in general. I disagree with those laws in general. Alcohol is almost like guns and how the restrictions work. But yeah, how do you, if you make reasonable efforts, you should have immunity from that. We asked for ID. Prove you did. Prove I didn't, because that's how crime works. John Doe. Wait, says, did you see the Polish parliament member put out a menorah with a fire extinguisher? Nope. Was it Hans, was it Hans Leeton or whatever? That guy's fucking funny. All right, guys, we're gonna end YouTube. We'll see you over on Rumble. There will be a show tomorrow. There's supposed to be a show every night. There was supposed to be one last night, but last night got wild. Brief thing at the end of the show. So many people checked in on me over the past couple of days because people know that I've been going through some wild shit in real life, online, all that stuff. Like, December is always a really tough time. It's the culmination of the year. It's the culmination of a whole bunch of stuff. And I've had lately, I've been pretty open about this. I've had some bad times. People checked in on me yesterday. Yesterday, dude, was a great day. It was fantastic. It was just unexpected. We had unexpected guests that stayed a long time. And the reason they stayed a long time was because we just got to get rid of the world for a minute and be people being people. And it's weird when you spend so much time online to remember what it's like to encounter people who are not always online, to encounter people who are just people. And there's nothing weird about it. It's just, you get to hang out with people and have a good time and catch up with what real life is like, what you remember doing as a person rather than a personality. And we didn't expect to hang out for so long, but it was a blessing to do so. And guys, I got to tell you this. 2023 has been a weird year for me. I love my life and I love being me. And so much of this year has been great. But there have been some tough times too. Lots of them, more than other years. It's been a very bipolar year in a lot of ways. And one of the things I've learned to embrace, and when you're in it, when you're in that fucking slump, that trench, and bless your heart if you're 33 and you're like, this never happened to me. Cool. It had never happened to me at 33 either. But when you're in that trench, when you're in that fucking south directional fucking gutter, here's what you do. When the opportunity for good arrives in your life, grab it by the hair and call it a dirty bitch and ride it until morning, man. Because you will find that as your life gets more complicated, responsibilities get more intense, and the expectations other people have for you, your kids are getting older, your parents are getting older, your friends start dying or losing jobs. If you're the stable one and you have an income and people lose theirs and they need help, they're going to turn to you. People are starting a business, they're going to turn to you. Whatever it is. And there's a shitload of possibilities for everybody. But as you get older and stable and established, the things people ask from you become more and more draining. They become more and more immediate and more important for them, which means these are people you care about. Typically, it's more and more frustrating for you. And you never know how you can do all the shit you're supposed to do in your life. When the uncertain, the frustrating, the struggle, and the tough shit is bombarding you, when you have an opportunity, even for a moment of respite, to just say, hey, this is a good thing. And I people are going to take this slightly wrong and go, well, he meant literally like last night he had company over and it was good. No. I don't mean that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when you have the opportunity to find joy, contentment, and happiness in something, find it, take it, and grab it. Because those opportunities become more and more rare as your time and your stress. Your time becomes less and your stress becomes greater. As those happen, like your opportunities for joy go away. Grab them and run with them. Part of that for me is just being with people that I care to be around and enjoying their company in real life. As I'm more and more online, like you start to value like real life activities. And when I have unexpected company and I get to spend time with them, I always try and make my show like a priority. But just like any other job, sometimes you take a day off because you have to feed that joy. And so that was the opportunity for yesterday. It was great. Good friends, good just connectivity. And it was I didn't want to cancel the show. I didn't intend to. I did think it was going to be late, but it ended up being so late that it was impractical. But just my personal opinion on that, as your stressors grow, find those things that you can grab onto and grab onto them, because they will become less and less and less. And everyone's expectations and burdens they place on you will become greater. And that's not how life is to be lived. I've lived my life like that a long time, catering to other people, and I still do. But always remember that you are you. And if you are not there, then you can't help others. And eventually those tables kind of flip. So that's all. This is rambling advice, but it's really fucking important. With that, guys, if you don't come to Rumble, why are you gay? Otherwise, we'll see you on Rumble. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.